As the Delta variant spreads and COVID cases are on the rise, the president seems to think red states are to blame for the surge, lashing out at governors like Florida's Ron DeSantis over his tough stand against COVID restrictions and mask mandates.
Some governors aren't willing to do the right thing, but you aren't going to help at least get out of the way of the people who are trying to do the right thing.
But Governor DeSantis is fighting back, implying it's the president who is doing the wrong thing on many fronts, including the border.
Joe Biden suggests that if you don't do lockdown policies, then you should, quote, get out of the way. But let me tell you this. If you're coming after the rights of parents in Florida, I'm standing in your way. If you're trying to restrict people, impose mandates, if you're trying to ruin their jobs and their livelihoods and their small business, if you are trying to lock people down, I am standing in your way, and I'm standing for the people of Florida. So why don't you do your job? Why don't you get this border secure? And until you do that, I don't want to hear a blip about COVID from you. Thank you.
Well said from the governor of Florida. As always, Brian, you can sense the fear, the trepidation coming from the Biden White House. This has nothing to do with COVID, these attacks on Governor DeSantis. If it did, you wouldn't have 7,000 COVID-positive migrants being released in McAllen, Texas, with another 1,500 yesterday. If it was about COVID, that wouldn't be happening on our border. This is about fear of a rising star in the Republican Party, make no doubt about it.
Right. They want to distract Kayleigh from the major story. The Delta variant we're unprepared for. The Delta variant that now we had a chance for a year to digest how to do it, how not to do it, since China gave us this pandemic, and they're also being blitzed by it. No one's reporting that. They're being hammered by their own variant on the disease they gave the world. They will say, hey, let's turn around and go after the rising numbers in the state of Florida. Do you know what the governor said? Mask mandates should be decided by the parents. How dare he? You know what Texas said? Mask mandates is the same thing when it comes to the parents. You know what else they said? We've been through this before. We're not going to be ordered around by a guy that hid in his basement for a year and a half and just wanted to ridicule from the outside. So now we're in a situation that's pretty much uncharted. He made two enemies. I want to take the war on the unvaccinated. I think the American people deserve more respect than that. And I want to take the war to the governor of Texas and the governor of Florida, especially Florida. And I love the way Governor DeSantis really sent a message. I'm not taking any questions. Here's where I stand. Tighten up the border, not to distract you. It's related to the exact thing you're criticizing me for, and I'm done. Close the book, leave the stage, message sent. I don't think Biden wants this fight. I think he wanted the distraction, and DeSantis went right back in his face.
Yeah, he did. Tommy, I think that was the model for how to respond on the COVID issue that we saw from Governor DeSantis. I mean, look, since the beginning of this fiscal year up to June, there have been 1.1 million contacts on our southern border of illegal immigrants crossing. And this comes as in April, the New York Times told us, we don't have the testing. They don't have the testing to do this. They're releasing these illegal immigrants across the country. This is how we fight back in this messaging battle.
Exactly, and I'm glad that you brought up what's happening in the state of disaster in McAllen, Texas right now. As you mentioned, thousands of illegal immigrants that are COVID positive. They are in a state of disaster because the Biden administration won't do their job, and so these cities and these states are having to pick up the messy, infected pieces. But I'll also say this, the failed experiments of the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the mandates, we already saw that that didn't work last year. And I'd also like to say, when it comes to Florida, let's keep in mind how many liberals fled from other states like New York, California, and came to states like Florida during the pandemic for freedom. But now they want to reverse course, and now they want to shame Governor Ron DeSantis when many of them moved there for the leadership and the freedom provided by Governor Ron DeSantis. Keep leading, keep being strong, keep standing for freedom. Ron DeSantis has a bright future ahead, and I know that it gives all of us a whole lot of hope when we're looking at all these restrictions, looking at all these mandates, and we're looking at governors like DeSantis and Abbott and Kristi Noem. We're saying, thank goodness for you, because you are protecting our freedom.
That's right. And Shannon, COVID-19 has provided a real juxtaposition between states. There's really two models. There's the Florida model, Texas model, or New York and California model, where, responsibly, Governor DeSantis has said, get vaccinated, but we're in a different place. We're not locking down. We're not having mandates. We have a vaccine now. And I think the numbers tell the story. As Tommy just pointed out, there have been nearly 300,000 residents that have come to Florida from April 2020 to April 2021. While meanwhile, you see California and New York have had an exodus out of their states. People are choosing the DeSantis model.
Yeah, and I think what happens here is this is a very open flank for the Democrats politically. They've got this situation where people see dissonance. I mean, they see what's happening at the border, and then they hear in places like New York, if you want to go to Chili's, you're going to have a vaccine passport. So you can come across the southern border with a lot less trouble without proper ID, possibly having COVID, us not knowing the results of whether you've been tested or not. And these are human beings who need our help and need assistance, especially if they're sick. But if you're asking the American people to sacrifice, to give up some of their own liberties, to mask up again, to potentially mask their kids, people will go with you if they think you're on the same side. But if they feel a sense of hypocrisy, which they do about the border, and it's not just Republicans who've been pointing it out and complaining about it, it is Democrats, especially those in those border towns and cities who say, we are overwhelmed. We're having to build tent cities for people. We need the Biden administration to listen to us. That's coming from Democratic members of Congress. So it's not just Ron DeSantis they've got a problem with over the border. It's Democrats, too. And the American people see that is something that just doesn't line up for them.
It doesn't line up at all, Emily. And going back to COVID-19, President Biden was dealt a very good hand. President Trump oversaw the creation of the vaccine, manufactured millions throughout the private sector. Working therapeutics were given to this new incoming president. PPE was in full supply and abundance. And now look at the numbers of how Biden is handling this, how the American people are perceiving it. The new Quinnipiac poll, let's put it up, puts the president's approval rating at 46%, down from 49% in May. Not a great number. Also, the president's handling of COVID-19 pandemic falling to 53%, down 12 points from May. So now he's hit some pretty troublesome waters. What do you make of those numbers, Emily?
Right, they're not surprising at all, Kaylee. You're absolutely right that President Biden inherited a recipe for success in managing the COVID pandemic, including a precedent of 1 million vaccinations being administered twice in January, that same month in this year. And yet he has continued to fail and let everything fall apart. Governor DeSantis was absolutely right to call out his blatant hypocrisy. Even though the White House thinks that no one can see through their sham messaging and that it's Oz, any reasonable person can see exactly how, as you put it, the two models in play in the country, how exactly it's ending up. We have a commander-in-chief that has allowed the southern border flood of migrants to become a festering wound of inhumane conditions, decimation of law and order, prioritization of narco cartel industries, i.e. human smuggling and drug smuggling, and super spreading catalyst as they ship these poor people throughout the country. We have district attorneys and governors throughout our country that are raising the alarm, in addition to legal nonprofits, international NGOs, about these conditions, about the treatment of COVID pandemic, the complete lack of management of it whatsoever. And yet now we have other states that are joining their law enforcement together to help protect the border, to do what our commander-in-chief refuses to do, which is solidify the border and protect American citizens. This response is absolutely preposterous. And for President Biden to go after one of the few in leadership who actually does have our best interests in mind is appalling.
Yeah, the American people won't stand for this. A porous border, COVID positive, illegal immigrants flooding across the border. And meanwhile, in New York, you've got the vaccine mandates. You've got to show a card to go eat at a restaurant here in a few months. They're not going to stand for this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.